Okay, for this episode, I'm doing something completely different. When I say completely different, it's the first time I've done it in our YouTube channel. So I'm going to do kind of various lists. I'm going to show off various records. There's going to be sometimes in videos where it's not a top 10, top this. It's just me talking about records of a particular band, and this is one of them. Now, this band is one of what I call the Holy Trinity. So when I talk about the Holy Trinity, there's three bands who are so interlocked and who are three of my favourite bands. One of them is Adam and the Ants, Culture Club, and this one, Bow Wow Wow. All of those bands are kind of interlocked. You probably hear me talk about them a lot of the previous videos. But I've always been a fan of Bow Wow Wow. And one of the main reasons I was a fan of theirs from the very, very beginning, Bow Wow Wow were put together by Malcolm McLaren, again, who managed one of my all-time favourite band, the Sex Pistols. At the time, Adam and the Ants were a punk band, around about the Dirk time, Where's White Socks album time, and consisted of Adam Ant, Dave Barbarossa, Matthew Ashman, and Lee Gorman. And he basically sacked Adam from his own band. Now, this is kind of one of those stories that we all know about. Anyone knows about these bands, we know this. They sacked Adam Ant. The three remaining put together Bow Wow Wow, and they did 6 months of auditions to find the singer for this band. And again, another kind of mythological story, a myth, or no myth, is they found a 14-year-old singer by the name of Annabella Lewin singing in a, these places where you go and wash your clothes. But she was singing in one of them. And she's 14 years old at the time. She then became the singer of Bow Wow Wow. So now Bow Wow Wow consisted of 4 people, including Annabella. So the band was put together in 1980. And their first single, they signed to EMI. Obviously, Malcolm McLaren has something to do with that. Signed to EMI, and they released, their first release was My Cassette Pet, which came only out on cassette, no vinyl, nothing else, My Cassette Pet, and it had loads of great tracks on there. Again, a lot of them are reworked, but if you listen to them early editions of those songs, they're so kind of raw. There's a lot of tracks on that were so good, and they released the single C30, C60, C90 Go. But EMI refused to kind of promote it because it was talking about home taping is cool. And obviously at the time it was home taping is killing music campaign was going around, and they decided to release this. Did a video for it, singles, released My Cassette Pet, and then EMI dropped them. They then signed to RCA, and that's where the magic started to happen. Well, for me, I've always liked that EMI version of Bow Wow Wow, but with RCA, who were prepared to promote them, that's when they started to kind of gather momentum. I'm just going to talk through a couple of them records. These are the 12. I'm just going to look at 12 inches at the moment of Bow Wow Wow. I will be doing things like albums and compilations, and 7 because I've got like an array of like 7 inches, all different single covers, the lot. But I think Bow Wow Wow, one of the most underrated bands of all time. I was lucky enough to work with Dave Barbarossa. For me, an icon, an absolute icon of modern music. You know, the drummer from Adam and the Ants came up with that Burundi beat style, who then went on to Bow Wow Wow, another great band, who then went on and did another thing. What a musician. The guy is just incredible. And I'm lucky enough, again, to call him a friend. That reminds me, I better call him. I've not spoken to him for a long time. So I'm just going to go through some of these 12 inches, what they meant to me at the time. And there's a lot of releases that came out in Japan and America that we didn't get over here, which I have a lot of. But I'm going to go through them all. We will be doing future lists on 70 singles, all of that, because they've got so much stuff out there. But my first one I want to show off is this one, and I kind of picked this up quite recently. Yes, the original cover of Chihuahua was all coloured in, but I'd never seen this blue one, and it's an American edition, a US edition. Just love it, and obviously the classic at the back there with Matthew Ashman and Annabella. Have you ever seen the video for this where she's pulling him through the grass by his hair, and what a classic image, all obviously done out of Vivienne Westwood as well. But this is a great kind of 12-inch on here. So you've got Chihuahua, you've got Golly Golly Go Buddy, and they just released the album at the time they released this as well. Again, their album is in my top 20. So I won't be doing that album again because I did a massive thing on that. Again, if those who don't know, their first album was called Sea Jungle, Go Join Your Gang, yes, City All Over, Go Crazy. What an album title. But that was Chihuahua with the blue hue sleeve, which I've never seen since or before. So I jumped on this. Spent a lot of money on it as well. But that's Chihuahua, 12-inch. No different in length or the song. It's just a 12-inch version of the 7-inch. Okay, but there you go. This one, I bought this, and it's basically Bow Wow Wow Work, which I didn't think was a strong track of theirs. I think it was a great live. I've never seen them live, by the way. I've seen videos and people have gone and seen them live. But it was a great track, and this is the special remix disco version, which was good because it breaks down the track itself. But the track Work, I didn't think was a strong release, but they did release this on 12-inch, on 7-inch, and you had different coloured sleeves. I think you get a yellow version of this. And then it was released in different countries, different sleeves. But I didn't think it was a strong enough track. And this came out in 1981, I believe. 1981. Doesn't say on here. Got to put the date on the records. I'm sure this was 1981. On the B side, you had the C30, C60, C90 Anda, which was, I think, the Spanish version, of C30 track, which we all know. Great sleeve, good disco version. One of the strongest? Not really, but it's still worth having in your collection. And that is Bow Wow Wow, the 12-inch version of Work, with the special disco version. The next one, I am a fan of this record. I thought the sleeve was great. I think it's from the same photo shoot as they did for Chihuahua. Again, it's Matthew Ashman and Annabella on the sleeve. And it's Prince of Darkness. When I first heard that record, it was so raw from the cassette pet. And again, this came out on a poster bag. I forgot the 12-inch of this with the poster bag, and 7-inch came out on a poster bag as well, I've got to say. And a great poster. The photo again was taken by Nick Egan. So this must have been exactly the same time they're shooting the sleeve for the Sea Jungle album, because he took the photo, so it's definitely that same photo shoot. The B-side of this, it was one of my favourite Bow Wow tracks, which is Sinner, Sinner, Sinner. And again, these versions aren't different than the album versions or single versions. They're just on a 12-inch. Which is a shame, because normally they would say, but there's nothing different on these at all. And that single came out in 1981 as well. I think it was just before they started thinking, okay, we should really be putting different versions on the 12 inches to kind of make the most of it, so people will buy it. There's no putting this same version on 12-inch and a 7-inch. Why don't we put different versions on? So I think that was at that period of vinyl sales and 12 inches. To be quite honest, around about this time, I didn't know there was such a thing as 12 inches. So I was buying albums in 7 inches. I had no idea there was 12 inches. I would have been 11 years old. Where you got them from, I don't know, because they weren't in any record shops I went to. The next one, which I do have a funny story about this, and I probably spoke about this before. To me, it's my favourite track by Bow Wow Wow for many reasons. And it was also their first hit, which was in 1981 too. Even though it says 1982, I'm sure it was 1981. And it's Bow Wow Wow's Go Wild in the Country. And obviously it's using the same image they used on the Sea Jungle album, which was banned, obviously, because at the time, Annabella was only 14, 15 years old at the time. So there's a massive scandal with that. So when the album came out, they didn't have this photo on it, but there were copies around. To me, this is the best record by them. To me, this is like everything. If you want to know what Bow Wow Wow were about, it's this record here. And I still remember that performance on Top of the Pops where she would, get down on her knees and jump up. I think we all started doing that at the disco when this record came on. So she did influence us on how we danced to this. But my story about this record is I remember coming out of the bath with a shower at the time, 11 years old, and I'd wrapped a sheet around me and I'm jumping around my room to this song, unaware that my father was standing at the door watching me. Things have never been the same since. But that's my little story about that record, and that is Bow Wow Wow, Go Wild in the Country. And again, the versions aren't any different. Yeah, just not different. It's just a bigger record, a bigger picture, really. Yeah, but a great record. Awesome. And that was 1982, even though I believe it was end of 1981. The next one is, when I say a recent purchase, this purchase kind of took me a long time to kind of find, because I didn't find out about this release till later on, because Bow Wow Wow were massive in Japan, so there was a lot of Japanese releases, like their album versions were different, the sleeves are different, same as American versions, but this one here is probably my favourite Japanese version of the record. Even the 7-inch is brilliant as well. And it is this. The same sleeve that they use for I Want Candy. Not exactly the same, it's from the same shoot. But it's got Teenage Queen, which only appeared on this, the Japanese release. I have never seen that on any other album or record. It's Teenage Queen, The Joy of Eating Raw Flesh, I Want Candy, and Cowboy. And the Japanese market, or the vinyl presses, always put a lot of thought into their records. I mean, that just looks great. Even the back sleeve just looks brilliant. They've got the lyrics on there. You've got the Obi strip as well. I think it's super glued onto there now, but you've got other releases of theirs. I have all of these, which I'll kind of talk about in other releases. And they always had like the plastic disco bag inside. And it's just brilliant. And normally they have, here we go. And inside was brilliant because they gave you like this picture of the band and a signature with Annabella on it. Now, I don't know if that was real or if that's just a print. It looks kind of real. And then on the back you've got the lyrics, but in Japanese. That is definitely a release. If you're into collecting Bow Wow Wow records, that is definitely one of the records to collect. A lovely sleeve, awesome. I'm not sure what year this came out, because there's nothing on here. Nope, no date. But the Japanese release, anyway. Tracks on there are brilliant. I mean, the tracks that we know. But The Joy of Eating Raw Flesh, it was a track, I can't remember what made its first appearance on, but it's not a track that was really kind of well known. But Teenage Queen, what a tune. The next one, I'm kind of moving to kind of the American market, because in America they release kind of different versions and weird versions, but at the same time still incredible for the collector. Brilliant, because we like collecting stuff. But this was the super single, I Want Candy, and I think this is, but this is the Spanish release of I Want Candy, the 12-inch. Take out the sleeves, a bit shiny there. Again, using that photo shoot, the same photo kind of shoot for the sleeve that they use for I Want Candy. So this is a Spanish 12-inch for I Want Candy, and again they put this kind of red hue across over the top of it. But I just love when they have this kind of stuff in the corner that kind of makes it unique. I Want Candy, some Spanish writing there. I'm not Spanish, I don't know what that says. But the B-side of this was Cowboy, that I believe wasn't the original B-side to I Want Candy, which I'm going to have a look at. And again, there's no difference. I mean, this is 333, this is 330, so it's just the normal 7-inch versions, but it's great having the sleeve. And that is the Spanish version 12-inch of I Want Candy. And then you have this one, which again I think is a brilliant sleeve. This is the German on RCA. Again, they released I Want Candy, but they always put like versions on there. And this is really unique as well, because if you don't have this is the German version of Bow Wow Wow's I Want Candy. It's almost like a little mini album. Again, image straight again from the same shoot. You got I Want Candy and with TV Sages, then it's got plus long versions of Go Wild in the Country and Sea Jungle, and they are incredible mixes. I don't know where they first appeared, to be honest. I don't know if they were done for this. Yeah, very, 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 very strange. Yeah, the Go Wild in the Country is 5 minutes 18, which is definitely a lot longer than the single. And the other one is the Sea Jungle, which is 5 minutes 18, so they're definitely longer versions. That is good to see. If you've not heard it, check them out, because they're really great versions as well. Yeah. The next one, this record should have been bigger actually. It's Jungle Boy, Bow Wow Wow. This came out in 1982. And I think they'll come off the back of I Want Candy and Go Wild and all of that. I think they kind of rushed released this, and I think they missed the boat on this. It's I'm a TV Savage again on the B side, and the Sea Jungle, and it is just it says remixed version. The intro is slightly different, slightly longer at the end. They've taken away some of the lyrics, but the sleeve is great, and that is Jungle Boy, the 12-inch. I love the logo. Definitely worth having. And on the B side, they've got the Sea Jungle, Go Join Your Gang, yeah. Longest album title ever. And the graphic designer on this was Nick Egan. So he obviously took the photo as well and designed it. Then we have the standard 12-inch for I Want Candy. This is the UK version. Again, the classic image. If you've got the 7-inch of this, you only had I Want Candy on the record itself, and the B-side was an etching of the logo, the Bow Wow Wow etching. But the B-side of this one is Cowboy, which is the same as the Spanish version, exactly the same, no difference. This one is a bit of a rarity. I didn't even know this came out, and this is I'm sure this is the American version. I think this only came out in America. And to be quite honest, this is where Bow Wow Wow lost me. Love, Peace and Harmony, which wasn't a strong track from the album, so I'm really surprised they kind of released this. Don't like the artwork at all. To me, that's not Bow Wow Wow. But the reason why I bought this is because there's an I Want Candy previously unreleased remix, which is spot on. And the reason why I bought this record is brilliant. I'm not sure when that remix was done, who did it, but it's so good. And this record came out in... We find the year, so you have a good idea about this one. This record came out in 1982. Quite surprised it was that early on, actually, because this came from the second album. I think it probably followed Do You Wanna Hold Me? But don't like the sleeve. I think it's a rubbish sleeve. I'm not a big fan of the Love, Peace and Harmony, but the B-side, I Want Candy, previously unreleased remix, is worth buying this. This one here is, it took me ages to find this, and I knew I'd heard about this record, but I just couldn't find it, and then it popped up on Discogs one day, and it's the Baby Oh No special remixed version, which is so good, I can't stop listening to this. But you've got that special remix version on one side, and then you've got Cowboy on the other side. I mean, Cowboy has appeared on a lot of their 12 inches, a lot of their kind of records, and again, I don't think it was a strong track. Great track. There were better tracks, but this remix is absolutely unbelievable. That is my 12 inches. That's my Bow Wow Wow 12 inches. So I do have an array. I've got more 7 inches, so we definitely do like a little look at the 7 inches, but I just want to show you some of the 12 inches that I've got a Bow Wow Wow and start bringing Bow Wow Wow into the conversation, because I think they're incredible bands. I think they left their mark. The guys are still around. The tracks are still being used. And as I said, they're part of what I call the Holy Trinity between Adam and the Ants, Culture Club, and Bow Wow Wow. One fact about Bow Wow Wow 2 is they did have a second singer called Lieutenant Lush. So you had Annabella and Lieutenant Lush. Lieutenant Lush went on to become Boy George from Culture Club. So there you go. The fact is, Boy George from Culture Club was also the singer of Bow Wow Wow before he formed Culture Club. I'd love to have seen that. The early recordings of Mile High Club had him, because they're talking about Lieutenant Lush, because that's what he was called at the time, Lieutenant Lush. And she refers to herself as General Lush. So there you go. That's where that all came from. But he was the second singer for Bow Wow Wow alongside Annabella. And thank God he moved on to Culture Club. But anyway, that is my 12 inches for Bow Wow Wow. One of the Holy Trinity. I love saying that. Join me on a list in the future. We'll look at the 7 inches. We're going to look at some of the albums. But if you're a Bow Wow Wow fan, Let me know what you have. I want to know what 12 inches you have that I don't. Is there any 12 inches on here that I have that you want? Let me know. Be interesting to see. Thank you very much.